What's up, y'all? Welcome to Conversation Piece with Patrick Armstrong. I am the titular Patrick, and this is a show where we talk about the missing pieces of the conversations we're already having. Shout out to our returning listeners, and a high five and hello to everybody joining us for the very first time. I appreciate each one of you being here with us in 2024, the year of the nap. My guest today is a content producer who is passionate about delivering moments. Whether it's polished social content, events, or promotional pieces, he will enhance your story. I can personally attest to it, as he's done it for the show for the past 2 months numerous times. He's also a 7-time marathon runner and the founder of Mike Lee Productions. So let's tarry no further. He is the man behind the camera, Mr. MLP. It is an honor and privilege to welcome my brother Mike Lee to the show. What's up, dude?
Man, that's always a hell of an intro, and it's weird. It's weird that it was about me, and it's also weird to be on this side of the table because I'm usually behind the camera.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how does it feel to be on the mic?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good, and I think like 2023 and 2024 really is the year of being transparent and really talking to your audience. So this is a good step.
I mean, if people have been following you on social media, you have been very front of camera, I feel like, recently, especially this year.
Yep.
So it's not like you're shy about it.
Right.
You can speak. You can speak very well.
Getting better at it. Yeah. And as you know, the blooper reel would be way too long. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like the blooper reels take up some space on the old hard drive.
Yes, they do.
But so before we jump into it, I love your speaking voice. I think you got a great speaking voice. People always tell me that, but I rarely get the chance to say the same thing back. And I think you have a very smooth, calming voice. If I were to listen to something on the Calm app, I would listen to Mike Lee read it.
Thank you. And it's so weird because I also was talking to a friend and she's all about like energies and like wavelengths and sound. And she's like, there's actually a difference when you're being authentic versus when you're being fake.
Oh, sure.
And it's like a lie detector, really. And I think, you have a great podcast voice and just like the radio like talent, so to speak. So I appreciate the compliment.
I appreciate that. Whenever anybody says you have a great like radio voice, I always think they're saying you have a great face for radio, which means you don't have a great face. So I appreciate that. All right. Before we dive into the meat of this conversation, I did give you that introduction, but for anybody else out there listening or watching right now who doesn't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. So obviously content producer. I don't like saying content creator just because I feel like that's being overused nowadays.
Okay.
And just having the production side of it. It's like I'm not just showing up and creating content, but I also am producing it behind and had actually thinking about the strategy into the video and photo. And I always say like your content is only as good as the strategy behind it. Like you could have a killer video, but it's not going to perform well if you don't market it. So that's why I've been adding the producer role to it. And it also, presents the value in my pieces. And that's why I also say polished social media content. Just because, I want to be over delivering when I'm, like creating and just like to represent a little bit more value than, and just kind of making myself stand out.
Okay. Do you feel like adding polished makes it seem like you're going to over deliver? Or do you feel like, because isn't the saying under promise, over deliver? Do you feel like polished takes it a step beyond under promising and makes it maybe more of a promise?
Yeah, I mean, I think the standard should never be like the goal.
Right.
So if you already have high standards, I want to just be above the high standard.
You're moving the bar up.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because I feel like if I move the bar, then that bar is going to be eventually set higher for everyone else. Yeah. And that's how you kind of build this industry and really just build people up too.
When did content first become a thing that you were interested in? Were you just a kid on social media and then you picked up your phone and were like, I'm going to make stuff? Or how did that journey start?
Yeah, I was actually incredibly shy as a kid. Like, I never really wanted to be on camera or anything like that. I fell in love with the editing portion of video production first. And I loved just like the control aspect. I loved how meticulous you could be and create really anything that you want, and you just really be creative in, you know, what you're thinking and kind of put what I'm like the mind on paper. And so that is kind of where it started. I think in 7th grade, I was in a sports broadcasting class.
Okay.
Where we were, like our big project of the year is to follow a team in our school, like a sports team, around for the whole season, create content for them, and then at the end of the year at like the like fall sports awards ceremony, they're gonna be like playing it like on the big screen.
So you're doing like a Hard Knocks situation for the NFL, but in your middle school sports
Absolutely.
team.
Yes.
What team did you follow?
So it was a variety of sports, but I really
multiple teams.
Yep.
Okay.
So based on like there were like the open and the close of the ceremony, so you have to encapsulate all of the sports, and I really liked that portion just because, you know, it wasn't the same sport every single day.
Sure.
Like you were highlighting different sports and being creative with how you're making them look good.
Yeah.
But then I remember like football was the most like desired sport to capture. So I only did that a couple times just because it was so competitive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you started in like the editing bay and you fell in love with the editing process. When did you realize like, oh, being the person capturing the content was something that you were interested in doing?
Yeah. I think I had a realization when I got my first GoPro. It was like the GoPro 2. And I realized that then I was like, in order to edit, you kind of have to have video to play with. And I remember going to Banff National Park with my family one summer, just like bringing that along. And I was so obsessed with the fact that it was waterproof. And so like sticking it in any river possible and just like seeing what you got. And just being a kid and just really having that fire just to create.
Yeah.
And I think that we as content producers always kind of chase that first feeling.
Yeah. So you grew up in not Indianapolis, but in Chicago.
Yes.
And so for people who may not know what Banff National Park is, even though I don't think that's Chicago related, can you just define?
Yeah. So Banff National Park, it's in Calgary, Canada. First time, out of the country, and didn't really know what to expect. It was a huge pull from my older sister, actually. So I was a homebody. I hated to travel. I hated going to like weekend getaways. I hated like church retreats or, camps. I couldn't deal with that. So like family vacations were like once a year. I would, leave the house, and my sister was super adventurous and really just got me into like the outdoors.
Okay.
So yeah, it's, the Midwest isn't the most glamorous sometimes. So going to somewhere like Banff National Park in Canada really kind of spoiled me from an early age.
Yeah. Well, it's a big contrast to like growing up in the city. And I know you grew up like northern suburbs of Chicago, but it's still a big difference. Like when you get that exposure. And it's funny because like, obviously that became foundational in a way to what you do now because you're traveling a lot. You go a lot of different places. Not shy, I would say, but somebody who likes to go out and engage with folks, make friends and have conversation and create some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Produce some really cool content.
Thank you.
You ended up in Indianapolis because you went to Butler.
Yes.
So what was that transition like from Chicago coming to Indianapolis, and what were you going to school for?
Yeah. So that was so interesting, and that's such a pivotal part of my life. And both of my oldest sisters, they also went to Butler. And me being the stubborn younger brother, I was like, I'm not going to follow them. I want to make my own path. And I wanted to pursue a career in digital marketing or like, just video in general. And as I was touring schools, I'm like, Man, Butler is really cool. Like, like I could kind of see why Dana and Jess really picked the school. But the one thing that Butler didn't really have, or it was an unknown for me, was I was a huge runner, or I am a huge runner. And I wasn't quite good enough to be recruited by Butler because Butler is D1. So I was looking at D2 and D3 schools, but I was like, do I sacrifice the career opportunities to, run at a D3 school, even though I was like, I'm not going to be a professional runner. Like, that's not going to be my future. So really just kind of had to look and see like what's going to be the long-term goal.
Sure.
And could I still run at Butler? Yes. Would it be a little bit harder? Absolutely. But, before I committed to Butler, I looked at, half marathons, and, I was like an 18-year-old and just signed up for a marathon freshman year. I was like, you know what? We're just going to go for it.
Here in Indy, one of the marathons.
Yep.
Which one? Monument?
So the Monumental.
Okay.
So it was back in, I think, 2019. And that was crazy because I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
First marathon
ever. And in high school, didn't really run a whole lot in like the weekly mileage. We were like, our school was very low mileage oriented.
So you were like a distance runner in track and you ran cross country?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But comparatively to other schools, we were very low mileage. And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't really know how this 26-mile race is going to go. Don't know who I'm going to train with. But that really, I think, just forced myself out of the comfort level.
Sure.
And being like, all right, like we're just going to take this challenge by the reins and seeing what happens.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it'll force you out of the comfortability of the homebody idea. You're already displaced from Chicago to now Indianapolis. So you're like trying to vibe with a new place. And running makes sense as to be like, it's a way to explore the city. You get a chance, especially if you run distances, like you get a chance to just move through the streets, move through the different neighborhoods and get a feel for it. What was that post-marathon experience like? And was it a high enough to get you to be like, oh, I'm going to continue doing this? Because as we mentioned in the intro, 7 times marathoner.
Right. Honestly, if you would have asked 18-year-old Mike Lee that I would be at 7 right now as a 23-year-old, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. But when I crossed that finish line, it was the hardest thing that I've ever done. But I was like, when is the next one?
Yeah.
When can I sign up? And just really kind of pursued that feeling. And it's also, running is therapy. Like it is active meditation for me. So like if I'm stressed or if I need just to like brainstorm for different ideas, that's where I really just get all of my like creative juice from. And like if I don't run in a day, like I'll feel kind of anxious or kind of antsy. And so it's really just a time to decompress.
Yeah.
So really just kind of found purpose in long distance running and just really made that a priority, especially as I started pursuing my creativity.
Any particular place that you enjoy running the most?
Man, it depends.
Yeah.
So I love, like, if I'm running by myself, just, it's going to sound really boring, but like just straight down the Monon.
Oh, okay. No, I feel you.
So,
That's not boring to me. I'm like, I like the straight line because I'm like, okay, if I can kind of see where the end might be, that's great for me.
The light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. But it's like, I could just flip my mind off.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about cars or, like geese, especially in the springtime.
Man.
That's crazy. So yeah.
You ever been attacked by geese?
Absolutely.
Yes. A goose.
So my good friend Corey and I, we've been running since college.
Yeah.
A couple summers ago, we were on the canal path and heading towards Broad Ripple. And we knew the geese were bad, but it was, I think, like peak spring, like mating season for them. And we actually had 2 geese like fly at us from the water. And just like
from the water? That's
from
far away too.
Right.
Jeez.
And I was like, man, like we're just trying to get by,
Damn.
But yeah, you just collect so many funny stories and, you develop these awesome relationships with people and because you're stuck talking to people for hours on end. Like what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Man, that canal path is dangerous for geese.
Yeah.
100%. We had a similar situation going to Broad Ripple one time on bikes. It was not fun.
No.
What's something that you've gotten from running, but maybe more specifically like running marathons?
Mhm.
What's an experience or something that you take away from there that you wish everybody could experience or feel?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the distance of it, like the reason why, a little bit of history, the reason why the Boston Marathon logo is a unicorn is because only 1% of the population will ever run a marathon.
Mm.
And so like that's such an achievement.
Yeah.
And I think doing something really hard and really difficult and really just pushing you mentally, but also physically, like they talk about the wall at mile 20 or mile 18. And it is so real where your legs just shut off, but your mind says keep on going.
Yeah.
So you have this cognitive dissonance, and really it's an internal battle.
Sure.
So I think especially as a creative, especially as an entrepreneur, you got to go through hardships. You got to go like trials by the fire.
Yeah.
So marathons are just like a physical, tangible challenge that I have for myself.
I like it. And people can find their own challenges and ways to approach that challenge,
Right.
or approach those things on their own. It doesn't have to be marathons,
Correct.
and you can find that feeling.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that. You just got to find the thing
Yes.
that you can derive it from.
Absolutely. And also the best thing about long distance running, or, just running in general, is it's an effort level. Like you don't have to be, the best of the best. You don't have to be a pro athlete. It's like, okay, I'm going to do the best that I can on this given day. And that's all I need to do. Like it's you versus you out there.
I have ran literally just down the street and said, okay, that's all I can do. And I've counted that as having went for a run. So
Okay, yeah.
I'm counting that.
Yeah.
I'm taking your advice and counting that for myself.
As you should.
What is then like something that you take from running, and how does that overlap with your content production? You talked about it being like therapy, or a way that you can kind of brainstorm ideas or de-stress from an idea, whatever it might be. How else does it overlap in the work that you do?
Yeah. So I think, like, I always talk about setbacks. I always talk about, like when you hit that wall, like what are you going to be doing? So like when you get injured, like that's a tangible barrier in your life. But like, how are you going to maneuver around that? How are you going to be adaptable or flexible? And I think that is such a unique trait of distance athletes, or just, people that move physically move like their bodies.
Yeah.
So, if a client tells me no, or, you forget a tripod or you forget something, like how are you going to adapt to the situation based on what's like in front of you?
Yeah. Any specific situations that come to mind about like, oh, I really had to pivot and adapt to something that I was just not prepared for?
Yeah. So a little bit of a crazy story. Back in the pandemic, so I qualified for both the New York Marathon and Boston Marathon. And since it was canceled the year before, they were like, you could either like prioritize 2021 or 2022. And I did both in the same year. And the Boston Marathon got moved to the fall that year because it was canceled last spring. So I had about 3 weeks in between both marathons.
Damn.
And I wasn't ready for the first one. Boston was first. That's one of the most challenging courses, in the country.
Yeah.
And I was, I don't want to say hobbling into it, but I was not.
Sure.
I was not
Were you
100%.
coming off injury?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So coming off injury and just didn't know how that was going to go.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, I run New York, and 8 minutes faster than Boston, which was crazy. But it's like, what are you going to do when you have such a challenge ahead of you?
Yeah.
Like fight or flight. How are you going to adapt? Talking about recovery, talking about, mindset. And, ever since then, I was like, okay, if I could do that, I could find a way around like practically anything.
Yeah. That is wild. Wildly, dare I say, unhealthy.
Yes.
To run 52 miles.
Absolutely.
In 1 month.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a lot.
That's like it is a comparison game sometimes.
Sure.
And I'm always like,
You're young enough too.
yeah, exactly. You know, and in hindsight,
Did I run more that year? Maybe not.
Yeah, like, should I have done that? Probably not. My dad definitely has been like, that was a dumb decision.
Does he say that every time you see him? Hey,
Yeah.
remember that time you ran 2 marathons in 1 year, in
Absolutely.
1 month?
Yep.
Terrible decision.
Yeah, that wasn't the smartest.
That's funny. So, like, you find yourself building community through running.
Mhm.
You're here at school, digital marketing, learning new stuff. I'm assuming producing content throughout this whole time. Were you did you start producing content for running and then move into something else, or was there a particular path that you took as you were producing that was more aligned maybe with school?
Yeah. So Butler did a great job at facilitating learning like in the classroom, but I also took it upon myself to, find freelance gigs, for practically free, at that point, and just really getting experience under my belt. I didn't know that I wanted to do, running videos.
Sure.
Like back then. I just kind of had, whether that was a gig for a friend or, a friend of a friend, that's kind of how it started, and just really taking anything that came my way.
Yeah.
And then now I think in the past year or two, really just wanting to merge the two passions of running and videography. So, just kind of chasing that feeling again.
Is that the goal of kind of the work that you do, is to be, maybe this is not the right, like a running creative?
Yeah.
I was going to say like a running influencer, but I don't know if that's the right description.
Yeah. I would definitely say like maybe a running or like a content producer that has, a focus in running.
Yeah.
I never want to, completely, narrow in on
Sure.
one industry, just because I'm passionate about, events, coffee, cocktails,
Right.
restaurants. But I would absolutely love to just follow around a pro athlete for, a year or two.
Okay, so it doesn't even have to be yourself creating
correct.
the content.
Yeah.
You just want to be involved in running
Yeah.
in 40% of your creative output is like, that's the focus. How does that normally break down for you? Like when it comes to what Mike Lee Productions is involved in, how do you decide, okay, I want to make sure I'm doing Patrick's podcast. We got to get that locked
That's
in.
number one. That's number one.
But I also want to make sure I'm following XYZ runner. I also want to make sure I'm covering these events because I like them or because I know they're going to be a lucrative opportunity for me. How does that break down for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Patrick Armstrong, always on speed dial. Like when he...
Do phones have speed dial anymore?
That's a great question. Figurative speech, I guess. But I just remember like such a funny story during All-Star Weekend. You're like, hey, Mike, like, it's Thursday night. Can you be there like Friday at 10 a.m.? And I'm be like, I think so, and I always say like, I want to work with good people, and like, here we are. Like this has been the great, like, I don't know. I've been meeting like so many great people and having so many great opportunities through you, who is a great person, obviously. But like I want to have a good balance of I guess clientele. But I always say like creators should probably have 3 or 4 different buckets that they pour themselves into. And so I really want to go after events, restaurant and food, and running. So like those are kind of like the 3 biggest buckets that I have. But obviously it's like if an opportunity presents itself, like this podcast. And
I was going to say, I noticed that podcasting was not one of your buckets.
I mean, you are the only like.
But those are just your 3 buckets.
Correct.
Creators should have their own 3.
Okay. Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. And I think that's one of the reasons I was so interested in working with you, not just because I'd seen the work you'd done with Samson, shout out Samson, but when we first met, just how interested you seemed in like what it was that was happening here, and also how organized you seemed to be.
Thank you.
I was just like, I feel like I'm organized, but for whatever reason, the people that I work with are always more organized than me. And I think I do that intentionally because I know they're going to keep me accountable when I might not be as accountable as I should
Sure,
be.
sure.
And I got that vibe from you. And I feel like when I've watched, as we've connected and I've watched you work, what really stands out to me is like when you make a commitment to a client, like you are going to achieve what that client is requiring. Like when you did the NIT and the WBIT, like you were turning around videos in 6-hour time frames that were high quality, that were like very, very highly produced, that looked like you had spent hours and hours and hours in the editing bay in post-production. But still we're then showing up on location of the day to capture more, to then do the same thing over again.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't want to say it's rare, but I think it's not something that you often see, particularly with people who find themselves in higher profile positions as creative producers.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, those 2 videos for WBIT and NIT, that wasn't in my like deliverables. Like that was just for me. Like that was just for fun. And you know, when you're in the lab, when you're in the editing bay and you catch yourself working like late nights and you're really tired, but you're like, I'm still going. Like, and that's when I really know like this is what I should be doing. Yeah. Like this is the gift that I've been given and I just want to run with it. Like figuratively and, you know, literally.
Yeah. You literally want to run with it, for sure. I like what you did there. So speaking of that, like the last few months have been really high opportunity months for creatives in the city. We've had All-Star Game, NCAA tournaments, and the women's tournaments and stuff, men and women's. There's been some other stuff going on here. There's been like a lot of shows, I think, that have been going on here recently. Gen Con just happened recently. And we kind of got connected as we started to have this conversation around, you know, what does this community look like? What is already out there? What's not out there? And where are the gaps that people are filling in? And like, how are they doing that? From your perspective on the other side of the camera for this show, and then just in your time in the last few months, and then, you know, as you're in your career as a creator here in Indy, what do you feel like you've seen is either missing from the scene of like the creative scene in Indianapolis that is now currently we are like working towards, or what is something that you think we have been working on the margins that we need to be centering more?
Yeah. It's always so funny. Like when I was thinking about this conversation that we're having right now, it's like, all right, what questions does Patrick usually ask, and like how am I going to answer those? And so, you know, I'm completely blanking on like what I like was thinking about, you know, so we might have to cut this, but I think one answer that comes to mind is we have so many creatives and just artists in general that are on a 9-to-5 schedule, you know, and they're doing this, you know, from 5 to 9 or, you know, 9 to, you know, midnight. But they want to be doing this full time. Yeah. Like, so how can we need these people to really embrace their creativity and their talents and just really just go for it. Like so many creators are on the fence. They're like, I don't know if I should leave my 9-to-5 job and the comfortability that it brings. And I understand, you know, like you got to pay rent. You got to, you know, keep the lights on. And like health insurance is a huge thing too, especially for freelancers. But it's like, at what point do you just go for it? You know, like you gotta embrace change. You gotta sometimes like go past the person that you are currently to get to where you want to be.
How did you make that decision? Because I would say, like, for you, at least as far as I'm aware, you have always kind of been in a position work-wise to do creative production, whether it's for like Indy Arts Council or Indy or Visit Indy or whoever it might be, before you then went entrepreneurial and started NLP. What was the moment for you to be like, I want to go for it?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I'll tell you, a lot of conversations with my parents. So they had somewhat of an understanding of what I wanted to be doing, but they were like, why would you leave your 9-to-5 job? Like, so I used to work for the city over at Visit Indy, and like no hard feelings to them. Like that was in an amazing opportunity right after graduation. Really just got my foot in the door and really a lot of experience in the marketing and hospitality industry as a whole, and how video and photo really kind of, are mixed into the whole entire like agency model. But I was like, I kind of have this itch for, my own thing. And I always had Mike Lee Productions when I was over there, and I was doing it on the side, like I said before, like the 5 to 9 grind, or, like after your 5 o'clock. And I was just like, there's no balance. I was pretty burnt out and just like doing long hours. And I was like, all right, if I could financially get there, if I could like have clients that trust me and that are going to back me when I make this change, then so it was really just a trust between me and, my clients and the people that I work with.
Yeah.
That really helped me make the jump. And my parents were like, we don't really understand what you're doing, but we could tell that you're really passionate about it, and we want you to support. They
support your passion.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Shout out to Sonia and Mike.
Shout out Sonia and Mike. Mike Jr.
Our
Mike
middle names are different.
Okay.
But I've been called Junior many times.
Do you like that?
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right.
No, I think. I don't think Mike Senior. I don't think Mike Senior. Now I'm doing it. I don't think Mike will be upset.
No.
That's funny. I love that. What was that first conversation with your parents like? Because this episode's coming out during Asian Heritage Month here in May, and I think that we're still dispelling this notion of the stereotypical Asian parent of like, you have to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, which is a stereotype and also isn't, because I think it is still prevalent within the community.
Yeah.
Videography, digital marketing, digital content production, it falls outside of that.
Yes.
Those three realms.
Absolutely.
What was that? What have those conversations been like as you've created? Because you have a really high quality product, so it's just I think it's one thing to have a visual product to see, but it's another thing to try and translate that.
Yeah.
To someone who doesn't, especially generationally, has a different idea of what it means to be in business, to pursue your own business.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very grateful that my parents have always supported me. From day one, they, I think, challenged me because they supported me. You know, if you love something or someone, you're gonna be a little bit harder on them, than a stranger.
Okay.
So kind of having that tough love, but also having that support system in place where it's the preface of, we want to support you and do what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
But we're gonna ask you questions to really make sure. So a lot of different phone calls and just like the logistics of it too. And I think it was just the repetitive phone calls of, I'm really passionate about this. I want to make the jump. I feel like I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it shows interest too. I love that, because it's not many parents, they might ask, oh, how's it going? But it sounds like they were going a little bit deeper and asking taking a genuine interest in what it is that you're trying to succeed at.
Yeah. And, I will also add, my parents were on the fence about it, but then also my sisters, I didn't know this until I went full time, where they had conversations with my parents as listen, I think Mike, because, on social media, my sisters are going to see most of my work compared to my parents. And they're we see what Mike is trying to be doing or is trying to do. I think he's on the right track. I think this is going to be the right thing. And it could have failed. It could have, or it still can't fail, I guess. But just kind of riding this roller coaster and just, really pursuing the gifts that I feel are given to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the inherent risk of entrepreneurship is the specter of failure.
Yep.
And I think it's easy for people to be oh, let's go work at 9 to 5. Let's go back to corporate, because it seems a lot more stable. But there's the instability of your mental health, of the balance, you know, and then being able to pursue whatever you're passionate about. So shout out Mike and Sonia.
Yep.
Shout y'all out. Let's see. So I've been having this in the middle of these interviews recently where I'm just like, which direction do we go?
Dude.
So, okay.
Fire away.
You talked about how just going forward as part of this kind of like missing piece of this greater creator conversation, especially for new creators. What in Indianapolis do you feel like is available for folks to tap into when they are getting started? Is it you have to be plugged into a Visit Indy or an organization that has the resources to fund you? Or is it like, if you think you've got an idea, go run with it in that direction? Or is it something else?
Yeah. I think having that support system is really good in place. So whether finding other creators, like I started online, just chatting with people in Indianapolis that were kind of doing the same thing. And now I have a really good support group with a lot of different people to have a sounding board off of. And I think like my advice to creators, or what I think is missing, is like that encouragement just to go for it. And, you know, if you want to be reaching out to a business, like talk to people that are creating content for, you know, a similar business. How do they get there? How do they, you know, pitch themselves? How do they provide value? So, you know, like talking about like Greg Buck that's been doing this and is really successful at what he does. Like pick his brain. If you want to run like a production company, like just look at other people that are doing it and that have been doing it.
Yeah.
So I think like having that encouragement just to step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Cause you know, I'm an introvert. Like I don't really like that fear of rejection. Like I think that is so powerful sometimes.
Oh, I like that.
So it's like you gotta just like you can't be afraid of the no, I guess, in a business format, you know?
Yeah. Well, if it's just because it's a no now, doesn't mean it's a no forever.
Exactly.
So just like a no right now.
Yeah.
What is your preferred method for people to tap in with you? Like as a new creator who's like, I want to learn from Mike.
Yeah.
And so this is something that I've struggled with. Like I don't have any I never struggled with like the cold email, the cold message or whatever. Like I've always
We've both done sales.
Yeah, exactly. However, I do also understand the introversion aspect of not wanting to reach out to somebody to learn, because you don't want to come across as one of the followers who's just like trying to obtain free labor essentially.
Yeah.
So like for you, how do you prefer somebody get in touch with you to be able to have that conversation?
Yeah. I mean, like Instagram DMs, like I think have been really helpful for my own business, but also to build community.
Okay.
You know, I've gotten people that it's like, hey, like I've talked to your mutual friend and told me to reach out to you. You know, do you want to grab coffee? Like I will always grab coffee. Like no matter what, I love coffee. That's probably my weakness. And you know, just like chatting and just having like-minded people to talk to.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't burn me out. Like that is really empowering, and that also builds community here. And yeah, just like I love the face-to-face conversations. So if you're in Indianapolis, like let's just sit down at a coffee shop and just talk whatever, you know?
Okay, Mike is available to talk.
Yes,
if you feel like he might not say yes, offer coffee and he will. He just said what his kryptonite is.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, because I feel like it can be difficult. And like I feel like a lot of creatives are introverts themselves.
Yep.
I don't necessarily think a lot of people have a sales background where you're forced to have conversations and put on a face, you know, and I don't think necessarily that you have to do that in the creative space. I do think, however, it behooves you to try and put yourself in uncomfortable situations, specifically for your own benefit. Not because it's like it's unsafe, but just because it's like, oh, it's just different than what I've experienced before.
I mean, we're also in the service industry, like
That's
the
true.
video production,
That's
and
true.
like when you're a freelancer, like you're providing a service. So like, how are you going to provide value to whoever you're pitching to, and how are you going to be different from everyone else? So like that's why I say like polished marketing. That's why I say like content producer. But it's like, how are you going to service whoever. And I think that's also really hard because you're combining your personal self and also your business self too. And combining them sometimes is pretty tricky just because it's a double-edged sword.
Sure, 100%. That actually makes me think about, like, it comes down to language and messaging. And I think one of the things that sets you apart is your message of, like, you want to be a content producer who's passionate about delivering moments. And I like on your website, it says delivering moments in quotations, like, like I'm delivering you moments. We don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
What was the first moment that you delivered?
Gosh. Probably with that GoPro 2.
Okay.
Like that was, I think, the family vacation in Calgary. That was huge. But when talking about like commercial,
was there something? Well, real quick, was there something about that GoPro moment, like that felt like this is a moment where that became kind of like in the back of your mind, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. I think I remember so vividly when I was editing furiously. I was like, I have all this so-called good footage.
Yeah.
If I look back at it now, I'd probably cringe because it was so awful. But I remember showing my family, and my sister was like, you should post this. And I was like, I never really thought about that. And like at that point, like Instagram was up and coming, but it wasn't like a video platform. It was still photo.
Yeah.
So it was on Facebook, and I think it probably got like 10 likes, but just that was like the first moment where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to avoid the fear of rejection or like no. And I'm just going to like put myself out there.
Yeah.
So just like I said, having that encouragement to create and to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Well, for you, it's definitely a moment because you can remember like, oh, Instagram, like somebody saying you should post it and be like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. You know? And that's clearly sent you down a path to where leads us today. What about commercially? Like, what was the first moment you delivered for a client where you were like, oh, this is the tagline on the website. Like, this is why I do this.
Yeah. Honestly, like I don't remember the first moment of like, I guess like MLP.
Maybe not the very first moment, but the first moment that stands out to you as like, this is what I mean when I say delivering moments.
Yeah. I think it was actually for a wedding company, which is funny because I don't really advertise myself as a wedding videographer, but it was a proposal. So it was a proposal for two strangers that I've never met, but it's like, man, the stakes were high.
Yeah.
And like if you don't get the shot, that's kind of on you, like that really would suck. And so since the stakes were so high, when I finally got the shot and I made that video and sent it off to them, they were like, oh my gosh, like you delivered like that moment in time so well that we could use for, the rest of our lives. And like, it's a timeless piece. So that's what I want to be doing for everyone. And also I've been doing it for myself too.
Yeah.
Because when I look back at this stage of my life, I want to have like tangible things to look back on.
Yeah. Oh, I love that description of timeless because I have been trying to think of a way to describe the look, the aesthetic of your videos and like even of your photos and even for this show. And I've not been able to like pinpoint it, but I think timeless is a good one because it's just like there's like some sort of, that's like the way I would describe this quality it carries. Like even the clips for the podcast, I feel like there's just like some timeless quality that 20 years down the line, this would work, or 40 years down the line, this is going to still carry that same crispness, I think. Yeah. It's going to stand the test,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's like you want to deliver it like how people saw it in person, but then you also want to add some style to it, not only because, it probably looks better than, what we see. But also it's like, that's how you set yourself, apart from others. Like I want when someone is watching a video, they're like, Mike Lee made that. Like it wasn't just another creator.
Did you take that from
Samson? No, but I shout out to Samson because
shout out Samson.
He also supports a lot of different people in the city and just like
he does.
He was, a really pivotal like hype man.
Yeah. For sure. He's always be sharing your stuff.
Yes,
Put
he
your
does.
name right on there.
Yeah.
Standing on business with that. I love it. Okay, got a few more questions before we let you get out of here. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
I did want to just jump right back real quick to it being Asian Heritage Month.
Yeah.
You know, you come from Chicago, which has a little bit more of a dense diaspora there. Coming to Indianapolis, a little bit of a less dense diaspora, but an existing one. I was wondering if you could just speak about your experience from that perspective here in Indy, and then kind of what you might be hoping to see or hoping to experience this month, if that even is something that you celebrate.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something I celebrate. And even if it's not, a physical thing, I think it's a mindset thing as well.
Okay.
And whenever you walk into a room, you're like, is there someone else that looks like me?
Very true.
And that is something so like subconscious that I'd never really realized that I did. But if there's another, Asian creator in a room full of creators, chances are I'm probably gonna go to them, just because like I'm familiar. And like also like I want to set an example of like up and coming like Asian creators too. It's like, all right, like if Mike's doing it, I could do it.
Yeah.
And I have those people for me as well in the industry where I'm like, if Matt is doing it, if ironically his name's Michael, if Michael's doing it, then I could also do it.
Right.
So I think also like college was a really pivotal part too, just because, Butler was predominantly a white campus.
Yeah.
And especially in the digital media entertainment realm, there wasn't a whole lot of, minorities, and just kind of like making your mark. And yeah.
Have you been able to find that community within the creative community here in Indy?
Yeah, I think definitely it's up and coming.
Yeah.
I think when we first met, I was like, also, like, you're also an Asian creator.
Yeah.
Like, I want to help you out. And I think when creators individually succeed, then they also give back to the community.
Yeah.
And that's how we really kind of flourish as a whole.
Yeah. I love it. I remember that first meeting very well, and I remember you being, okay, I'm only thinking of this because I've been talking about it a lot, but just like this idea of like, oh, there are other Asian people in Indiana.
Yeah.
It was just like, you're just like, okay, there are other creatives in this that are also Asian here.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, it's got the wheels spinning on a lot of ideas that we are going to be involved in, hopefully, if you remain here in the state, in the city. So
absolutely.
I hope that you do.
Yes.
All right. So speaking of just finding people that inspire you and finding people to be able to collaborate with and build community with, we have a new segment on the show called Give Them Your Flowers, which is sponsored by Frida's Flowers, where our guests take a moment to give someone or something their well-deserved flowers. So Mike, I just want to ask you, who would you like to give your flowers to today?
Yeah. I would say definitely like my family. I'd say like my family and also like my girlfriend, Abby.
Okay, shout out Abby.
Shout out Abby. Because I think when people ask me like, why Abby, or, like, why are you still in this relationship? Like, she does a really good job, and so does my family, at like getting myself out of that business mindset. So it's like when she comes over, when like we go like out to dinner, like she just breaks down those walls so well.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not thinking as, a content producer. Like I'm also a human that can do fun things, outside of business. And whenever I'm on the phone with my family too, they're like, how are you like as a person? I'm like, wait a minute. Like I have things to do too.
Feelings.
Yeah, like, whoa, like what is this? And like all of them, they promote balance. They're like, yeah, if it's a busy week, they're like, yeah, we could see that you're really busy, but like, are you happy? Like what is happiness to you? And like, if success is happiness, then great.
Yeah. What is happiness to you?
That's a great question. I don't think we have a whole lot of time to talk about that.
Oh, you got a long answer.
Yeah, I mean, but it's I think self-fulfillment, and doing the things that like fills your cup, and surrounding yourself with people, because if you succeed and you don't have anyone else around you to share that success and that happiness, like, then what's the point?
Sure.
Like, you have to share the happiness and you have to share everything to make it valuable.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why I love working with you.
Yeah, thank you. That's
because it's a collaboration. It's
Yes,
a
sir.
collaboration,
Yep.
100%. Well, shout out to fam.
Mhm.
Shout out to girl Abby. You got your flowers today. Shout out to Frida's. Shout out to
Yes.
Madeline, especially for sponsoring the segment. Frida's Flowers, providing bold, powerful, floral experiences that are sure to make a mark on your spirit.
Yeah.
Love Madeline. We're going to have her on the show too. All right, a few more questions. We're going to wrap it up here. The first one being, we had a conversation via text the other day where I said something. I was referencing something in a shot of the episode, and I don't remember the word that I used, but it was not the correct terminology, like videographer, like editing, post-production terminology. So I was wondering.
I have no idea where this is going.
I was wondering if you could share, and we laughed about it because it's like you said that wasn't the worst that you'd ever heard. So I was wondering the worst kind of misused videographer lingo that you could share, like that people tell you that you're like, that's not right.
Yeah. It's oh gosh, that is a great question. It's always funny. It's not the worst because I think I'd have to think about that a long time, but the most frequent one.
Okay.
And maybe it's just maybe it's just like an old terminology, but when people are like stills, when they call photos stills, I'm like, sure. Like when they're like, can you shoot stills as well? I'm like, you mean like photos? Like just like, I don't know. Like I've never called it stills. I haven't heard like my generation say stills. So maybe it's just a difference in age. I don't know.
That's funny. So you get that. Stills is the one you get a lot.
Yep.
What's one that people is not maybe as frequent, but comes up sometimes? You're like, man, I hate when people misuse this.
I would say, I don't know. Like content creator is like such an overused word, I guess.
That's what you said. Yeah, we're bringing it full circle.
Yep, exactly. So it's like, oh yeah, Mike Lee's like a content creator, and then they probably think that I just like, go around with my iPhone or,
Sure.
It's like that's not what I do. And there's value to creating, on mobile too.
Right.
Like for the time we post, and so I don't want to discredit that because like for social, that is incredibly impactful. And there's a time and place, but that's not what I do.
Yeah.
So when I'm being called that, like that's kind of where my head goes to.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Which I think segues very nicely into this next and second to last question about young creators, like, or maybe not. They didn't even use that word yet. The young producers, people who are interested in this, who are not yet ready to just kind of go for it, but are looking for the end. What advice, what words of wisdom, encouragement, what do you want to share with that person who's like interested on the cusp and looking into it and is seeking guidance? What do you share with that person?
Yeah. I would definitely say like, well, what Greg Buck said on this, like you're going to fail a lot, but then to add on to that, you don't know how creative you are until you don't have any options. So it's like the whole entire point of being creative is because you're not doing something that someone else is doing.
Yeah.
So like being original in your craft, finding that creativity, and you got to be backed up against the wall sometimes. It's like when you're in the editing bay at like midnight, your intuition takes over. Like you're sleep deprived, like you're not thinking straight, but like you're just full sending it, and what you feel is good. So I think that would be my advice.
Okay, get your back up against the wall, have nothing to lose, be in a terrible, terrible position, and you will make the most creative thing that you've ever made, and it'll be worth it.
And I will preface that because I know you're spinning it. But it's like you have to be ready for when life puts you back against the wall.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't pray for that.
Right.
But when it eventually does, you have to be ready for it.
Are you ready for it? And if you're not ready for it, are you willing to go for it at that moment?
Absolutely.
To try and get out of there. So, Mike, I appreciate that. I appreciate everything that you do for the show, for me, for a bunch of people within this city. I think it's interesting to me that I
when I see your content pop up, who I see liking and commenting on it as well, who I've connected with, and just being like, feeling really happy to see that. And I'm hoping that a bunch of stuff spins out of this for you, because you've got a timeless eye for the cool stuff happening in the city. And I can't wait to see it archived 100 years from now when I am 134. And we are looking back and reminiscing.
The dad lore is going to go crazy.
All right. Before we let you go, tell people if you got something going on, what you got work going on right now, what you're working on, but where can people find you? How do we follow you? How do we support you going forward?
Yeah. I have a good amount of running content coming out, which is super exciting. But also, we're talking about community a lot. So having a photo walk/workshop in June. So June 15th, June 16th is going to be the rain out date, just in case. But really just engaging. It's an open invite to any creators. So whether you're filming on like your first camera or, a cinema camera, it doesn't matter. Open invite. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be walking to different businesses around the city and having the opportunity and presenting the opportunity to pitch yourself and to talk to businesses so we could break down those barriers and break down, the nerves of like cold pitching yourself.
I love it.
And also like experiencing different like categories of the industry.
Yeah.
So like we're going to go to Good Neighbor, which is, a clothing store. We're going to go to Caffeine Coffee Co. To, film coffee and, food and just like soft network with people. So hopefully it's going to be a really good turnout, and if not, it'll just be me just chilling with these businesses.
Getting content that, you can use. So
Exactly. But we're going for it.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta support others and you gotta present the opportunity to create community.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So,
where do they find out about that? And where do they follow you at?
Yep. So everything's going to be on Instagram predominantly. And then we're also going to have a Eventbrite link where you could sign up. And when you sign up, you're automatically going to be registered for 3 giveaways with the 3 vendors.
Okay.
So there's some incentive to showing up. And then obviously follow me on Mike Lee _productions on Instagram, and feel free to just send me a DM and message, and we'll make something happen.
All right, we will make something happen. I'm assuming that this stuff will be available by the time this episode drops, so we'll link it in the show notes.
Yes.
So you can sign up, put in the giveaways, and go have fun building community with Mike and all the other creators in Indianapolis. It's going to be a great time. Yep. Mike, this has been a great time. I appreciate you stepping out from behind the camera,
of course,
and sitting down with me on mic today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
100%. For everybody else out there, you already know episodes of this show drop every Tuesday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Conversation Pod Piece, and make sure you follow or go to the website to catch up on the archives and everything else that's coming out. ConversationPiecePod.com. Just want to again shout out Frida's Flowers, shout out to Madeline, shout out to John Overton and Popular Rapture on the mics, shout out to Mike Lee on the mic and on the cameras this time. Shout out to Roundtable Recording as well for providing Studio A and this amazing space. There is some really incredible stuff happening in May. If you're connected to me, you know what it is already. If you're not connected to me, then you better be following the show to find out. But until then, and until next time, I've been the titular Patrick, and this has been Conversation Piece. We'll see y'all soon.